Hello everyone, good evening. My name is Yoshana Kimurumudi. My number is 25DD20 F2033. Today we are going to present problem-based task PBT, which is for DFS50113 Secretary Audit. Okay, this is our topic. Moklai Barar is an intermediate-sized telephone company. There was 5 groups of IT auditor, including your group. After audit done, you find some of the information has been changed. Some data backup are not done frequently. The data backup data is stored offsite. The unassigned employee can freely access the system. The default setting is configured to firewalls. First, determine and construct an audit checklist by using suitable security governance. Answer the question by referring to the rubric given. Second, explain types of conducting audit activities based on above statement given. Answer the question by referring to the rubric given. Third, present your finding questions 1 and 2. Okay, introductions. Based on the PBT given, we should recreate an audit checklist by using the suitable security governance to be related to the situation in the above. Furthermore, an audit is the examinations or inspection of various books of accounts by an auditor, followed by physical checking of inventory to make sure that all departments are following documented systems of recording transactions. There are many different sort of audits, and some audits are called based on their goal or scope. A function audit focuses on a particular department or function. The purpose of a management audit is to advance management objectives such as assessing a department's effectiveness or performance. An audit might be internal or external depending on the links between participants. Internal audits are carried out by organization, personnel, whilst external audits are carried out by a third party. Internal audits are commonly referred to as first-party audits, whereas external audits might be either second or third party. Both internal and external auditors study the financial statements and the company's activities before writing reports summarizing their conclusions. Some of the author's definitions or viewpoints of auditing are included below. It is quite difficult.
Next, I will continue. My name is Fatina Farisha binti Ali and my MIT's number is 25DDT 20F2064. For 2.0 is determine and construct an audit checklist by using the suitable security governance. For the status code, which is meaning according to the scope, the process is not appropriate for the industry. For the status code is not applicable. Next, the process is described, not applied. The status code is not implemented. Next, there is inadequate documentation used when the process is applied. It is partially implemented. Next, process is defined, documented, and practiced, which is fully implemented. Next is context of the organization leadership. 4.1 is that the all employee understanding about organization and its context. The organization must take decision on all internal and external matters that may be important to performing its business functions and achieving the goals of the ISMS. The proof result compliance is yes, and the notes on your finding. The organization can be required to become aware of all pertinent internal and external difficulties, such as qualities, condition, or changing event that might affect the security control system, and then combine those with the most urgent needs. For the recommendation and solution, the organization can have a weekly or monthly meeting for the new employee to make them clearer about the company context. Next, 4.2. That is all the information security management system, which is ISMS, detailed and secure. The utility of setting up and maintaining an ISMS is demonstrated by a well. The proof result compliance is yes, and the notes on your finding is improve the company working culture. Employees are then able to recognize security concern and accept security inspection as a normal aspect of business. Next, the device that use fixed with weak password. For the recommendation and solution, sometimes a firewall is used to regulate network access in order to safeguard and preserve the community. Next, create strong password using numbers, symbol and letter. For the status is not implemented. Next, for leadership, is that all the workers know the organizational roles, responsibility and authorities. The Motley Berhad company should arrange the access card for each department to categorize the workplace for employee, which is yes. The general outline senior management responsibility for ensuring that roles, commitment and governance are efficiently assigned and conveyed. Moreover, responsibility should be given for ensuring that the ISMS conforms with the pertinent provisions of ISO 27001-2013 as well as the ISMS on its own. ISMS assessment and evaluation requirement for defining, configuring and operation data security control. It is partially implemented. Next, for planning, information security risk statement, which is yes. To choose risk management option and control, the employer must create and implement a statistical risk management methodology. The controls selected must consider but are not limited to tools in Annex. The major outcomes of the chance remedy technique are the declaration of applicability and the remedy plan, both of which should be improved by the risk owner. Spread the risk across several events by using risk finance, outsourcing or insurance, which is not implemented. For the last is improvement, continuous development, which is yes. Set up a corrective action and incident management policy, create and utilize an incident and corrective action log that manage incident and corrective action and includes the necessary fields. Also, the incident management procedure outline how we handle incident. The ongoing procedure lists out to adopt basic adjustment to stop non-conformities from happening again. Develop a plan for internal auditing. Next, create a process for internal auditing. The organization must constantly increase the information security management, system suitability, sufficiency, and effectiveness. The status is not implemented.
3.0 Steps of conducting audit activities. Steps of conducting audit activities. The steps for conducting audit activities can vary depending on the type of audit being conducted and the specific needs of the organizations. However, generally the following are the steps involved in conducting audit activities. Step 1. Planning. The first step in conducting an audit is to plan it properly. This involves determining the scope of the audit, identifying the audit objectives, defining the audit criteria, and selecting the audit team. Step 2. Risk assessment. In this step, the auditor assesses the risk associated with the areas being audited. This includes identifying potential risks, evaluating the likelihood and impact of those risks, and determining the risk tolerance of the organizations. Step 3. Field work. This is the most critical stage in conducting an audit. The audit team conducts field work, which involves gathering evidence, conducting interviews, and performing tests to validate the accuracy of financial statements, compliance with policies and regulations, and the effectiveness of internal controls. Step 4. Analysis. In this step, the audit team analyzes the data collected during the fieldwork stage. The analysis includes comparing the data with the audit criteria, identifying any issues, and determining the causes of these issues. Step 5. Reporting. The audit team prepares a report summarizing their findings. Once the analysis is complete, the audit's objectives, results, conclusions, and recommendations are all included in the report. Last, step 6. Follow-up. The audit procedure comes to a close with this stage. The audit team follows up with the organization to make sure that any problem found during the audit have been resolved and that the recommendation in the audit report is followed out. Okay, next is 4.0 steps to perform a security assessment. Performing a security assessment is an important step to identify vulnerabilities, threats, and risk within a system of organization. Here are the steps to perform a security assessment. Step 1. Define the scope. Identify the boundaries of the assessment, what assets and systems are going to be assessed, what type of assessment is needed, network, web application, physical security or etc. And the purpose of the assessment. Example, a security assessment is needed for a company website to identify vulnerabilities that could be exploited by attackers. Step 2. Gather information. Collect all necessary information about the system, including network topology, system architecture, software and hardware components, operating systems, and user access control and system configurations. Example, gather information about the website such as the website, hosting provider, web server, software, programming languages, use database type, and web application firewall WAF. Step 3. Identify threats and vulnerabilities. Analyze the system and identify any potential threats and vulnerabilities that could be exploited by an attacker. Example, identify potential threats with SQL injections, cross-site scripting, XSS, brute force attacks, and file inclusion vulnerabilities. Step 4. Assess risk. Evaluate the likelihood and impact of each identified vulnerability and threat to determine the level of risk to the organization. Example, assess the risk of SQL injections vulnerability by determining the likelihood of an attacker exploiting the vulnerability and the impact of the organization if the vulnerability is exploited. Step 5 is develop a plan to mitigate risks. Develop a plan to address each identified risk, prioritizing the risks based on the level of risk they pose to the organization. Example, develop a plan to address the SQL injection vulnerability, such as implementing input validation and sanitizations, parameterized queries, and or using an ORM to avoid the direct use of SQL queries. Step 6 is test the system. Test the system security to verify that the vulnerabilities have been addressed and the risk has been mitigated. Example test of the website is ensure that the implement controls have effectively mitigated the SQL injections vulnerability. Step 7 is document the results. Document the results of the security assessment, including findings, risk assessments, and mitigation plan. Example, document the result of the security assessment, including the identified vulnerabilities and risk and the plan to address the SQL injection vulnerability. The last one is step 8, review and update. Review the security assessment regularly and update it as necessarily to ensure that it remains relevant and effective. Example, review the security assessment every 6 months to ensure that the website remains secure and to update the assessment with any changes or new vulnerabilities that are discovered. Okay, conclusion is the conclusion of a security assessment should provide a summary of the findings, risks, and recommendation for addressing the identified vulnerabilities and threats. It should also include a detailed plan of action for implementing the recommended security controls with clear timelines and responsibilities for each task. Additionally, the conclusion should emphasize the importance of ongoing monitoring and maintenance of the security controls to ensure their continued effectiveness. It should also stress the need for regular security assessment to stay ahead of evolving threats and vulnerabilities. Overall, the conclusion of a security assessment should be a comprehensive and actionable document that provides a clear roadmap for improving the security posture of the organization. By following the recommendations of outlined in the assessment, the organization can minimize the risk of a security breach and protect its valuable assets and data. Thank you so much.